just telling our two guests that often when our paths cross in the news world, the day's urgent news requires that we talk in a very concise manner, but I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation, some of those conversations we've had off camera and kind of sharing those with the public. Beth, I want to start with you, Dr. Bender, pardon me. You were at the town hall. We saw you in the footage there. You're on the panel. What was your takeaway from Monday night? Do relationships matter?
Oh, I think certainly. We heard that from parents. We heard that from the teachers and the school folks that were in the audience. We heard that from our partners, whether it's the Wyman Center, whether it's College Bound. Relationships with adults can be one of the most important single factors of student success.
You recently wrote an op-ed in the Call newspaper. You talked about something called sparks. What are sparks?
Well, it's a concept that's pretty simple, but it can be complex, but introduced by a research scientist named Peter Benson. But the idea is that the relationship concept doesn't have to be all that difficult. Kids want to contribute, and sometimes they all need champions, and sometimes all it takes is one champion. We can all think back the people that were meaningful to us in life, whether they're teachers, after-school programs, evening church, community, whatever. When you have somebody that is meaningful to you in life, it makes a difference, and it all contributes to success. You know, lives change when people come in contact with others that care.
Okay, I know when the transfer students came to your school, you set a goal and met it of meeting with every student and every family. And Dr. Bender, I've been to Gateway STEM and I've seen you in the hallway. You know every student by the first name, but I got to believe it's hard to have these relationships with every student. How do you equip your staff to do that? Is this something that you can actually train the staff to do?
I don't think you can train them per se. I think you really try to make them aware of how important relationships are and how much easier it will make their jobs and how much more it will help the success. We see that whether it's going to a student's game, production, whatever it is. When you take that time to learn a student that is ESOL, for instance, you take time to learn a few of the native language, a few of the words, that immediately sparks a connection, and students will try harder. They will aim to please for people that they really care about, and that's why that relationship piece is so significant as far as student success.
Sometimes it's a simple question. You know, an adult that cares enough to ask about kids, and I think the majority of teachers do this. You know, so it's that's the good news. But we know when we turn on the news and we hear of tragedies and students who have done horrendous things in their schools, the one question that is usually answered in a very common manner is that they had no connection to their school. They had no adult that found the passion within them and connected them to their school and made that something meaningful for them. Sometimes it's as simple as asking questions, taking an interest, and again, I think our educators do that. We unfortunately nowadays, I think, personally, that this tends to take a back seat to high-stakes testing, all of the things that we force upon our teachers. These are high-stress environments. The kids feel they have to perform. You mentioned the transfer situation. You know, can you imagine being in a school where you are told over and over again by the media, by the public, that you're in a failing school? You hear that enough, you equate that to being a failure. And anything somebody hears over and over again, pretty soon they're going to start to believe it. And that's why we have great concerns about what's going on with our unaccredited schools that some people choose to call failed schools. And the relationship piece is definitely the answer, but it tends to take a back seat because of all the stringent requirements that just keep, what kids used to do in 4th grade, now we want them to do in kindergarten. And we're trying to compete with other countries, and it's like comparing apples to oranges, and that's a whole different topic. But that relationship piece is key, and good educators don't forget that, and we can't let it take a back seat.
But we are, at least currently, measuring our school's success academically. Does this translate to academic success?
I don't think so. Eric spoke very well on that topic, and we heard that on Monday night. the pull that we're putting on the educators. Do this, do this, do this, high stakes testing, attendance, everything that we do, and that is important. But it is the back seat. So how is an educator, when you're pulled in every direction, and now the principal's saying, hey, when you're done with all that and the grading and this and that, get to the soccer game. Go do this, take the time for that. It's too much. And it doesn't equate to success. I think they're conflicting. And we've got to find a way to bring that balance. And it's not so much us as it is the legislature and everything that's put upon the schools that was not there in the past. When I got into education, when Eric, we were in school together, the pressures weren't what they are now. And what we're asking people to do, it really is too much. So we've got to find a way to find a balance that we can value the individual student and still meet those academic targets. But right now, there's some conflict with that.
One thing we know, and this needs to be in the forefront of our minds, there's a great video out there by the late Rita Pearson, and she uses a James Comer quote. It says, "No significant learning will take place without significant relationships." Mm-hmm. And that's paramount. And it's not real hard to understand, but it takes effort. And it should be in the front seat. It should be the first thing. It should be what we tackle. Connection. Every kid needs a champion. They need multiple champions, but we at least need to connect them with one champion that they feel good about, they can go to, takes an interest in them, ask the questions. It's probably easier accomplished in the lower grades, in the elementary schools, in the middle schools and high schools, where more teachers, more classes, they're spread out more. It seems like it would be easier. It's probably in the hustle and bustle a little easier for that to get lost.
Dr. Eric Knos, Dr. Beth Binder, thank you both for your time and for all the work you do for the kids in the St. Louis region. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.